Hello, I'm Dr. Harper. This video is an Operations Management AMBA 6270, Section 533, Spring 2021. This is an aggregate planning, the homework number 2, and I go through the homework just to show you how to set it up, how to work the problems. I don't necessarily work them all the way through. I'll work some of them all the way through just to see how to get set up, but then you take from that and continue it, and just to show how to set it up so you can answer the questions in the homework. And so again, I'm not going to work them all the way through all the homework, but I will show you how to set it up and how to go through the homework. So first, let's bring up Canvas. And in Canvas, we're talking about week 2 here. And this video will be posted right here after homework number 2. But also, more importantly, or just as important, if you go to the website down here, mdharper.com, and Operations Management tab, come down to Aggregate Planning. These videos here will also be a presentation of what I'm covering now, except I'm focusing specifically on the homework. This will be the same material, but in more general terms, broader terms, and also more of a presentation. Okay, so let's go to, let's bring up the homework. Okay, homework number 2 is a scenario. Consider the following scenario. You are the aggregate planning committee where possible aggregate plans are being discussed. Before the first meeting, everyone received the following memo. And in this memo, we start with the primary information to set up the problem. The first paragraph here establishes the mood, the setting, somewhat the scenario, but there's important aspects to this. First of all, you're invited to be a member of a planning committee that will consider alternative plans for the next fiscal year. As you know, we have been operating under a level capacity strategy, and now there again, the level capacity aggregate planning strategy, just to emphasize that, that'll be important, because that's what they have been operating under. So that's what they're used to, because down here they say maintaining a constant workforce is important to us for morale and productivity. In other words, they're used to the morale and the productivity around a level capacity. So they're saying alternative plans, but they're going to have to go back and look at the level plan that they've been having, and also the morale around that plan and the productivity around that plan to see what changes there are. Because they're going to be asking us for a comparative analysis. We believe it is time to at least consider alternative plans that would lower cost and possibly create efficiencies. So cost then is one criteria. Efficiencies would be another, something that's more efficient. However, we want to be careful that we do not disrupt our culture. And so we have to give strong arguments if we're moving away from level capacity, and we don't want to move away to where we'll disrupt the culture. Initially, we want to investigate cost implications of different plans in the first meeting. In preparation, we've collected the following information. So let's set it up. So this first paragraph gives a start on how you would answer this question. But this is more for the memo, not so much for the homework, and that's why I don't revisit this. But I do revisit it only in working the problem to bring to the committee. Okay, our labor standard is still 16 minutes an item for a standard 40-hour work week. Okay, and so let's bring up Canvas. I do want to work these for you. On the first 3, I'll work for you. On this one, let's enlarge this a little bit. So we have our labor standard here. So here our labor standard is 16 minutes. So let's come down here a little ways. Right here. Labor standard equals 16, and that's going to be minutes per unit. Okay, that's our labor standard. For a 40-hour work week, our current wages, okay, for a 40-hour work week. So therefore, our production standard, let's go ahead and get that right up front, is going to be, remember, the equation for the production standard remember it's going to be the number of hours. This is going to be, let's bring this down. This is going to be monthly, hours per month. Okay, and so it's going to be monthly. So here we're going to say, remember the production standard equals the FTE time standard divided by the labor standard. So the FTE time standard is 40 hours a week, equals 40 hours a week times 52 weeks. That's how many hours in a year. Divided by 12, that's going to be how many hours in a month. We divide that by the labor standard, but the labor standard is in minutes, right? So I'm going to divide this by 16 minutes. I divide that by 60, and that's going to be how many hours per unit. Okay, so that's going to be 650. So that's going to be 650 items per month. So there's our, production standard. Okay, let's go on. Let's see here. We have our FT time standard is 52 weeks in a year, which corresponds to 2,080 hours a year, which is same as 40 hours a week times 52 weeks. We want to keep our beginning and annual inventory at 5,800 to maintain low risk of stock out. Okay, as I said in the lecture, that's kind of high, but that's okay. That's what they want. Find the beginning and ending inventory is 5,800 and 5,800. Okay, good. We got that. And then down here for the next fiscal year, the forecasted demand that we will use in our analysis is there's the 12 values. I'll put that in later for the 12 months. Wait till I get all the units first. After an inventory analysis, we have estimated our carrying cost of inventory to be $525 per item per month. Okay, so our carrying cost, big C is cost, little c is carrying, equals 5.25, and that's going to be dollars per item per month. Okay, and so that's there that is. But then again, we could do it per month, or we could do the carrying cost per year. Either one would be fine. I think we'll probably, you can look at either one depending on how you want to answer this. But I think for this homework assignment, annual is what we're looking at. So let's come back to this here, and let's say this is going to equal, let's come over here, equals 525 times 12, and that's going to be $63 per item per year. So we'll probably use the 63 for the whole annual, for the whole year analysis. Okay. Okay, our VP of Operations, let's get this out of the way. Our VP of Operations done. We'll lead the first meeting. So as I said in class, the first meeting is level capacity. The first plan is level capacity with this information. And then the second is chase demand with this information. And in the chase demand, we have more information here. Notice in the chase demand, we have our hiring and firing cost. So let's go ahead and put this in here as well. Okay, to hire one FTE was estimated to be $2,400. So this is going to be the hiring cost. The big H is hire. Let's see. Which one is going to be the better way to do that? Yeah. The big C is cost. The little h is hire. Okay, and that's going to equal 2,400. Okay, and that's going to be dollars per FTE. And then the cost per fire is 2,100, and that is dollars per FTE. Oh, there we go. That's good. Oh, and then come back up here. Notice I bypassed this a little bit. I bypassed this. I forgot to put it down. Our current wages for our workers is $27 per hour. I forgot that. Let me put that in here. Um, Oops. Here we go. There we go. So now our current wages is $27 per hour. So let's put this down here, and let's say the regular time, the regular time cost is 27, and that's dollars per hour. Okay, and that's gonna be equal. That's gonna equal to. Let's see here. It's gonna be equal to. We're gonna be wanting not the cost of labor per hour. We want the cost of labor per unit. Okay. Well, we have 16 minutes per unit, right? And so we want the so we want the 27 hours, okay, equals 27 hours, or dollars per hour, but then we're going to divide that by how many hours per unit. Okay, so then that'll give us the dollars per item, or unit item, same thing. Okay, and so what I'll be doing here then is saying 16 divided by 60. Well, that's what I thought. This should be this should be multiplied. Let's do this again. This is dollars per hour, and then this is minutes per unit. So I want the hours to cancel out to be dollars per unit, or dollars per item. So that's going to equal 27 times the 16 over 60. That makes more sense. So that's going to be our cost dollars per unit. Let me just say item. Item, unit, same thing. Okay, so that's the unit cost we'll use for the production, for regular time production. Okay, and we'll change that later because we'll have overtime production. Oops, overtime cost. We'll have that as well, but we're not quite there yet. We will get there eventually. Okay. Well, the next thing, let me type in the demand here. Let's go ahead and type in this demand. Control C, and bring this over here. Enlarge this. Put it over here, and there it is. Now I'm just going to have to type this in. 28,000. 29,000. 28,000. 29,000. 28,000. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. There's 5 of them. So first of all, we have that. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 29, 28, 29, 28, 29, 28, 28, 29, 28, 29, 28. Make sure we get this right. Okay, now let's bring this down and then do the next 5, which is 32,000, 34,000, 31,000, 29,000, and 30,000. And so that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have 28 and 25. 28,000, and 25. There we go. So that's going to be for the months. Should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Good, we got the 12 months. Okay, and I think this is going to be right. So we're good to go. So let's go ahead and center all this. That's good. Okay, now let's come back to the problem. And so the first one is going to be level capacity. And then I ask these questions. And then the second question goes into, Don says, well, you know, let's consider chase demand. So question 2 is chase demand. And hopefully everyone will do that. And I'll show you how to do that in just a second. And then the third one, Glinda comes up and says, yes, well, let's look at the planning in more detail. And Hank begins with the suggestion, since we're considering cost, let's look at a plan based on a minimum total cost objective. Doesn't that seem logical direction? And notice he says, let's look at a plan. Let's start here. And that's exactly what this scenario and this homework is going to be doing, starting with minimum cost, and then we're going to modify it. Okay, and so this is a table that I put in here. But what I want to do for you to help is bring this in, and let me actually just solve this real quick and actually solve it and see if I can get that table so you can see how I solve it. So this is going to be the basis of this homework, the minimum cost, and we can go to level, we can go to chase, we can go to these other options, but the minimum cost with LP is going to be the same. And I said this in the lecture. Now let me demonstrate how to do it. Okay, we're going to have a production plan here. Then we're going to have our FTEs here. Then we're going to have hire. Then we're going to have a fire. Then we have the left-hand side. Remember, the left-hand side is our labor equilibrium equations for conservation of labor. And then we have our beginning inventory and our ending inventory. Okay, and then the total carrying cost, since we can. And so I'm doing it here. I don't think we need this at all for the homework, but it will be helpful it could be helpful for the memo coming up. Okay, here we go. So what I'm going to be doing here is setting this up, and the idea here is that first of all, let's our production plan. Well, our production plan, I'm going to select my production plan. Let me box this in, and then up here, let me shade it in. Here it is. Here we go. This is going to be my one of my decision variables, one of the changing variables, one of the variables I'm going to be changing. Okay, but then to actually get my FTE, I have my production standard up here. So this is going to equal, remember my FTE now is simply going to equal my production divided by my production standard. I'll F4 to fix it, a dollar sign in front of the column of C, dollar sign in front of the 4, which is my row, and then that's going to stay the same. So I go ahead and copy this down. So there's my FTEs. Those FTEs will be important later, okay, because we're going to be limited, those FTEs. Okay, then we have hire and fire. And actually, let's see here. I'm going to take the hire and fire, and what I want to do is to actually have those as my decision variables as well. I'm going to change these hiring and fire. So now I have my production, now I have my labor. Okay, I'm going to box this in and shade this in. Here we go. And so here's my labor. Here's my productivity of that labor, and that's what I'll be changing. Okay, and then over here's my left-hand side. Okay, remember the left-hand side. In the left-hand side, that equals the FTE in the previous time period, which would be this one, okay, plus what we're hiring minus what we're firing, and I can put this here and then arrow it up, minus my FTEs. We'll do it again. Equals the FTE in the previous time period here, plus what I hire in this time period, minus what I fire in this time period, minus my FTEs in this time period. And then I copy that down. So there's my equilibrium equations for my labor, and that set of equilibrium equations constitutes my conservation of labor. Okay, now beginning inventory. Here we go. Well, that's going to equal my beginning inventory up here. Boom, there it is. And then my ending inventory equals my beginning inventory plus my production minus my demand, and that's my ending inventory. And this is the beginning inventory in the second quarter equals the ending inventory in my first quarter. And then I highlight these and I copy these down for all 12 months. And there we go. Okay. And there we go. Now, this is the initial setup. Let me go ahead and box this in. Oh, my total carrying cost. Don't have that yet. Okay, well, I know that my carrying cost per month is, where'd it go? Where'd it go? Here it is, $525. So I know that. So my total carrying cost per month will equal the average inventory for that month, which is these two, average between those two values right there, times my carrying cost per month, which is $525 F4 to fix. And so right there is my total carrying cost for each month. Good enough. Okay, now, down here, let's go ahead and box all of this in, because there's my setup. But now I need costs, because I want to minimize my costs. So down here, let's take this sum. Sum all of these to here, 12. Make sure we get all 12 of them. Yep, all 12. Copy this over to get my production, because I will need my production for my unit costs. That is going to equal, let's see, what was it? $7.20 per item. And then down here, my total cost will equal whatever this sum is going to be times my unit cost. Okay, right now it's 0, but we're going to change this in a minute. Okay, but I'm also going to sum up over here my hire and my fire. There we go. I sum those two, because I know my unit cost for my hire is right here. Hire is $2,400. My unit cost for my fire is $2,100. And then I'm going to bring this over. I'm going to multiply those. Don't need those. So there's my total cost there. So now I have this total cost. That's important. This total cost. That's important. This total cost. That's important. And then I get my average inventory. So let's take the average here. And remember, you take the equal average of all the beginning and ending values from the very beginning to the end, all of them, all 24, because we have 12. And there it is. Let's make sure I got everyone, the beginning and ending, everything's there. There it is. Now my unit cost here per year then equals, this is going to equal $63 per item per year, right? So this is going to equal the 63 times my average inventory. Okay, and this right here, these right here should sum to that. Let me just say sum here. All of these should sum to that. These two should be equal. There you go. I think I have it set up. Oh, my total cost. Oh, then I have the total cost over here. Oh, yeah. The total of the totals. That's equal my inventory cost plus, let's do this again. Let me box this in. Okay, this total here is going to equal my inventory plus my firing plus my hiring plus my direct labor cost. And that right there is going to be what I want to, that's my objective function. That's what I want to minimize. So now I have everything set up. Now I just have to solve it. Let's go to data, come over here to solver. Okay, well I know my objective function is that's already there. There it is, that total. By changing cells, I want to minimize the cost. by changing these cells right here. First of all, it's going to be the production. Let me highlight all of those, comma. Then I want to highlight these all the way down. Those are those are the variables I want to change by changing those variables. Okay, I want to add a constraint. Remember we had 3 constraints. The first, I want all of these left-hand side here to equal 0. Okay, add. I also want all of my ending inventory, all of these, to be greater than or equal to 0. And then I want the ending inventory in the very last month, that right there. I want that. Can't see it. Let me pull this up. See, where am I? Yeah, I-26, that right there, is going to equal, let's come up here, my ending inventory of 5,800. Okay, so there's my 3 constraints that I want to restrict all of these to be 0 to make sure my labor is all coordinated and accounted for. I want my inventory to be non-negative because I want it to be, I can't go negative, no negative inventory. And I want the very end down here, at the very end to be 5,800. That's my goal. Okay. Now when you run these, you got to be careful. Right here, make unconstrained variables non-negative. You always check that box. In other words, you want all these numbers never to go negative. No negative numbers in the variables. Okay, second, the solving technique, the solving method. Well, when you do the menu here, we have nonlinear, simplex, evolutionary. Simplex is what we're doing because everything is linear. Everything is a linear combination. Okay, so always click that check and always click simplex for this homework assignment. Okay, now I have it set up. When I say solve, boom, it does all the calculations for you. Hear the bell? Well, that bell says solver found a solution. All constraints and optimality conditions are satisfied. Keep solver solution. Well, I could say restore original values. If I did that, it did nothing. Anyway, solver, solve. I say OK. And there we go. So there's our answer. Oh, is it our answer? Is this what we expected to see? Well, you know, that's kind of a good question. Let's look at this and let's see. Let me pull this back up here. Okay. Let me make sure this is right. Two, 6, 4, 6, 3, 6, 9. This is the inventory cost is 71,400. Here's my direct labor cost 20. See, what is this? 2.5 million. 2.527200 million. We don't need the cents there. Let me take these in home and then reduce the significant figures down. I'm just going to go to the dollars here. This looks right. Okay, so there we go. And so I will post an Excel spreadsheet similar to this, just like this, in Canvas. So you will have this to start from. You pull off of this what you need. But so let's go back to the homework. Oh, by the way, let's look at this. look at my FTEs here. Here's my FTEs, 39, 39, 43, 44, 44. There they are, 50, 50, 50, 50, 47, 45. Yep, they're all there. Okay, well this is rounded, but they're all there. And so then down here we have 10, 6, 1, 24, 25, 4, 7, 7. It's all there. And then over here we have 71,400. Yep, it's there. And so, yep, we did it. Okay, so that's what I intended. This is in the homework, so I wanted you to be able to get this spreadsheet, and you have it. Now you have it. Now you know how it works, and there it is. Okay, so once you're here, then from this you can answer the rest of the homework, and that's why I'm doing it for you. For example, level capacity. What's level capacity? Well, level capacity simply says this. What if I took the average of all of my demand, which is, what is it? 29,250. Everyone see that? I forget. That's habit. I'm creating a video. Okay, 29,250. So when I go to solver, data, solver, I can add another constraint, and that constraint simply will be, I want all of my production here to equal 29,250. And that creates a level capacity. I say OK, and then say solve. Boom, there's my level capacity. So just with that one statement, you have your level capacity. Okay, let me see if this restores. Yep, it restores all values. Now what about chase demand? Okay, go back to solver. Well, solver, let's come back to this right here, where we had B31. Where's B31? Right here. Okay, and let's delete that. Instead of that for level capacity, let's add a constraint where all of the production equals the demand. Okay, and then solve it again. Boom, there's my chase demand. Now I have chase demand. So you can pull these numbers off. Let's restore the old values, then come back here, and let's take this out again, delete, and I should be back to my original, and there it is. Okay, so that's how you get the level capacity, chase demand. We have the minimum. I'll give this to you. And so now let's go back to the homework. Okay, then here we just ask what's the minimum cost. And then we go on. And Jack, who has been quiet, says, let's limit our FTEs per month. Okay, and Ida says, well, wait a minute. The ending inventory of 0 certainly has the advantage of lowering costs, but increases risk of stock out. So Glinda says, yeah, let's set the FTEs and let's have a minimum inventory, which is not 0. So you and Don agreed on limiting the number of FTEs per month to a maximum of 44. Then selected of plans that would show important relationships. Okay, so on plan number 4 now, we come back to here and we go to solver. Now what do you want to do? Well, these FTEs, let's go ahead and add a constraint. We want to constrain all of these FTEs. See, here's 44, here's 47, 45. We want all of them to be less than or equal to 44. And then say, boom, okay. And then they'll give you the answer to that plan, aggregate planning plan. Okay, but let me cancel this. Close. And then which one's minimum cost? It'll give you one of those. Okay, then we go on. Number 5 here. Begin with a minimum cost analysis, which we're doing. Present at the meeting. Allow and limit the number of FTEs per month to the agreed upon maximum, 44. Allow the monthly overtime production at time and a half, but limit the monthly overtime production to 10% of the regular time. Okay, so time and a half. Let's come back up here. Here's regular time. My overtime cost would be time and a half, equal 1.5 times this. Did I do that right? Equals 1.5 times this. I think so. Let me check it to make sure. And then that also, bring this down. That is also equal to 1.5 times 7.2, which is 10.8. Okay? Okay, there we go. Okay, so now when we solve this thing, remember we have a number of things going. Now we have overtime, correct? And not only do we have overtime, it says limit the overtime production to 10% of the regular time production. Okay, so now we got to do some things in here. First of all, we have a max FTE is 44. Put that in there. Then we have overtime. Okay, where should we put the overtime? Let's put it, I don't want to mess these things up here. So let's take this right here and let's move this over 1, 2. And so this is my overtime. Actually, we want our regular time. This is going to be our regular time production plan. And this is going to be our overtime production plan. Okay? And then right here, let's have our overtime max. Okay, but then once we do that, we want to have, let's take this over here. Now our production is going to equal our production plan here. Whoops. It's going to equal our regular time production plus our overtime production. And then we're going to copy this down. Okay, now this right here is also going to become a variables we want to change. Now we're changing those variables. Okay, good. We're setting this up, getting there. And we're going to have an extra constraint now where we're going to limit our overtime by the overtime max. And the overtime max is going to be, let's see, what was it? 10% of your regular time production. Not 10% of the regular time. Okay, this is 10%. Equals 0.1 times our regular time production is that right there, whatever that's going to be. We copy that down, and that's going to be a constraint. And there we go. So now, when we solve this thing, now we're adding to it. So you got to make sure you make a list here. Data, solver. Okay, the first thing is to, your decision variables now I'm still minimizing my cost, minimizing. My decision variables have changed. they're going to be regular time and overtime, all of these, comma, still the hire and fire, all of these. Then down here, just to be safe here, let's go ahead and delete this, and delete this, just to be safe. So now, coming left to right, we're going to have our overtime production. Whoops. Forgot to add a constraint. Our overtime production here is less than or equal to 10% of our regular time. And then add. Our FTEs here is less than or equal to our max FTEs over here, which is 44. So we have that. Okay. And then add. And then we have our left-hand side here is going to equal 0. And then add. Our ending inventory here is greater than or equal to 0. And then add. And the final ending inventory of the year is going to equal our target up here, which is 5,800. Okay. And there they are. Okay. And I'm pretty sure I have all of the constraints that I need. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 of them. Okay. And if you solve these things, then you'll get the answer for that particular question. I'll close this out. I'll let you do that, and then answer it from there. Okay. Very good. Okay, then let's go back to the problem. That's that problem. And then number 6, begin with the overtime minimum cost presented at the meeting and limit the number of FTEs per month to the agreed upon maximum of 44. We've already done that. Allow the monthly overtime at time and a half with 10%. Actually, we didn't do that, did we? The overtime production here, max here, let's sum this. Actually, I didn't do it. We have to sum this and make sure we got all of it. Yes, we did. The unit cost here is for overtime is going to be 10.8, and that equals 10.8 times the overtime production. Now this is going to equal our inventory plus our fire plus our hire plus our overtime plus our regular time. And there you go. Okay, then we solve it. Actually, what we're solving is it's the same thing. It's the solver was correct. All this is pretty much correct, but I just didn't put the overtime in. Okay, so we have the overtime here max, the FTE max, the left-hand side, the ending inventory, and then the target. Okay, let me make sure this is right. I'm pretty sure it's right. Yep, it's right. Good. Okay, now we go on to number 6. And again, we have 10% of record time. Constrain the ending monthly inventory to be greater than or equal to 10. Well, all you do here for the next one is you go back to your solver and your constraints here. Add another constraint. Add one more constraint where my ending inventory here is greater than or equal to 10. Okay, and then solve it. So that's how you solve each of these. And notice, if you have a couple of weeks, you could work together and discover it. But if you could follow this, hopefully, step by step, this is how you get the numbers, and you can see how it's done. Okay. Now, let's finish this up. Number 7 and 8 says, okay, after a meeting with Glenda and Don, a table to be handed out. A table to be handed out, which is a PDF, and a PowerPoint graphs for discussion, which is a PowerPoint file, of the important information from the plans above requested for the next meeting. So just create a PDF and a PowerPoint file. Now I want to emphasize the important information. Don't just put everything out there. Put it to where the valuable things, the things that you feel that are important. Not too limited, not too much, things that are appropriate. Now, and also, upload one PDF file containing one table of the important information for discussion at the next meeting. Include the information from each of the plans, useful in comparing the plans and gaining insights for future aggregate production strategies. Okay, and then upload one PowerPoint file containing a set of professional graphs supporting the information for discussion. Include information from each plans useful in comparing the plans and gaining insights. Now, both of these should coordinate. They should complement coordinate with one another. In other words, the graph on the PowerPoint, the graphs in the PowerPoint, the tables or graphs, whatever you do, should mirror or should coordinate with a PDF, because you're handing out the PDF and then you're putting up the PowerPoint. So that PDF is a paper support for the actual PowerPoint presentation. So these have to coordinate. That's what I'll be looking for. Okay, now let's bring back Excel. And how do you do that? Well, remember, we're talking about a handout here. And so right here, what we have in this last one here, we have the regular time. Let's just look at cost here. We have the regular time production. We have the overtime production. We have the hire. We have the fire. And we have the inventory. Then we have the total cost. Okay. And so if we look at this here, this is for this is for this one, but we'll do this for like level capacity, chase demand, minimum cost, min cost, FTE restrictions, min cost, FTE, and overtime. And we just keep building it up. And so you'll just have a table here, just table of these values. That's one way to do it. Or you could, but what I don't want is just don't make a table of all the data. I'll probably count off a point for that, because that's not helpful. Because we're trying to plan here. Now, what you might do is looking, so these would be the costs here. Like for this one right here, which one is this one? This is the overtime 0. That's this third one right here. So this would be this one equals this one, equals this, equals this, equals this, equals this, equals this, equals this. So you can do that for each one of these. And then there's your table. You take this, Control C. You can open up a Word file. Like this is a Word file. You can open up a Word file and just Control, and there it is. Then you can format this. And just as simple as that. That right there, get a value for each one of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is only 5. Let's format these. There's a 6th one though. There's also a 6th one, where you have min cost, FTE, overtime, and inventory. Okay, and then there's another one down here. My point is, this right, I mean, you could just do this, and I'm fine with this. This is fine just for your table. Just do this. That's okay. It's not bad. Okay. But then when you come to the graph, oh, but then it's a PDF. So when you come to File, Save As, whatever you're saving it as, then under the Document, down arrow, you come down to PDF and click PDF, save it. It saves it as a PDF. That's what you upload. Okay? Okay, but then we come to the graphs. Well, if we have some numbers in here, I failed to do all the numbers. I have this one, and then a min cost, FTE, overtime, and inventory. We can take these and write justify so we can see them. There we go. And so if we had all these numbers in here, whatever they are, okay, and let me take these out. Let me just put bogus numbers in here. 5, 4, 6, 8. 4, 5, 9, 9, 8, 9, 8, 10. Put all these in here. 2, 1, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3. You're putting the real numbers in here. I'm just doing this as an example here. So if you wanted to plot this, well, you can put a table. You can use this table in your PowerPoint. You can take this table and then say, okay, I want to make a graph out of this. Come up to Insert, come over here. Maybe you can do a bar graph right here. You can do a bar graph. That's kind of crazy, but you can do that. You can take maybe some of them. In other words, you can take this, Control C, and put it down here and do this and say, I just want the, I want to eliminate these, and I will eliminate the totals, and I just want to bring these three over. I just want to do that and put that in your PowerPoint. So again, you do this, insert this right here and say go. And so there's and I actually can do it this way, or if you wanted to, look at this and switch them over. Notice this is the regular time, overtime, and inventory for level. It's comparing each one of those separately. You can see how the regular time is higher for level. Well, these aren't real data, but see how they jump around. And there will be a pattern with the real data. But if you don't want if you want these up here and these down here, you can switch the row and column. And so now we have the regular time with all the different 6 plans, the overtime with the 6 plans, the inventory with the 6 plans. You can switch through one column and then have all 6 plans with just regular time, overtime, and inventory. You do it either way, or both ways. But what I'm getting at, and then you can format it the way you want to, but you highlight it, come up to Home, copy, and copy as a picture. And over here, as shown when printed, say OK, and then bring your Word file back. And then come down here, and I can actually Control V and paste it in, and then I can just format this. So I can create it in my Word file. Or I can go right direct to my PowerPoint. And I already have a PowerPoint open. If I can get to it. And I can. Okay. is that, you can delete this, delete this, delete this, and you can do backgrounds and things. But here you can go to Control V and put it, and then paste it into your PowerPoint. Okay, and up here you can have designs. You can have different designs. Have this green design or a red background. I see this a lot. Sometimes students will make their own. I see this quite a bit. I see this. Any of these will work. It really doesn't matter. Or you can make your own. You can actually make your own here. Format your own background the way you want it. Okay. This is an interesting one. You can do that. Yeehaw. But anyway, you can do it any way you want. Okay. Like this. And then Control V and paste that in there. And then come up here. You can say right click and duplicate, or right click and new slide and that type of thing. So, and that's going to be the PowerPoint. So these last two questions are simply just to get you ready for the where'd the homework go? I got so many things open here. Oh, I had it there. It's to get you ready for the let's do it this way. For the memo coming up. The last question is for that. And I'm not too picky on what you put in there. I just want to make sure that it's just important and it's from the plans and they coordinate. That's what I'm looking for. So I hope this helps. Let's back up here and see what I got. There we go. I hope this helps for the homework. I hope I haven't rambled too much and you can see how to do some of this stuff. And so I thought I would work through it for you to see how this works. And if this does help, let me know. If this can be improved, let me know. If it doesn't work, well, then just don't watch. But if it helps someone, that's fine for me. That's all I need, just to help at least one person. So all I have. Between now and the next time I see you, I want to urge everybody, hey, take care.